I built out a plan. The plan was for 5 million top line revenue, 20% net. On the last day of that year, 2020, December 30th, it was our last selling day. We were closed for New Year's Eve. We were on our last appointment with my sales rep that day. It was at 6 p.m. and we were sitting at 4,940,000. And I'm like, I'm $60,000 short of my goal, right?
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Build to Win. I'm Jonathan Weinberg, one of your co-hosts, founder and CEO at Builder Prime. And I'm here as always with my co-host, John Kolbaska, owner at The Men with Tools, Windows and Doors by The Men with Tools. Sorry about that.
It's by The Men with Tools, Jonathan. There you go.
So we're going to focus on what John has been doing to forecast and budget for 2026 at Windows and Doors by The Men with Tools. And hopefully that's going to shed some insight and help all of you think about how you're doing your forecasting. Let's start with, how do you first approach it, John? Do you do like a top down, bottom up? What's the general approach?
At the end of the day, it's a business plan, right? It's a forecast, right? So you got to look at your numbers this year. What did you do? What do you want? What do you think your growth is going to be like next year? You got to set some sort of realistic expectations. When you get to a certain level in revenue, the growth tends to slow down as far as like on a percentage basis. So like in 2020, I had a $1.9 million company, and I grew that company from 1.9 to 5 in 1 year. The plan was for 5 million top line revenue, 20% net. On the last day of that year, 2020, December 30th, it was our last selling day. It was at 6 p.m. and we were sitting at 4,940,000. I'm $60,000 short of my goal. Right? My sales rep calls me at like 9:30 that night. And he's like, I sold the job. And I'm like, yeah, cool. Congratulations. He's like, I sold it for $78,000. It was like $5,015,000. So when you plan, it's achievable, right? So, but we were working those numbers every single day, every single week, every single month that year. And we've been doing that ever since. We're going to end the year probably at about 11.5. We want to grow to 13.1 next year top line. So you work from the top. So we put that number in there, 13.1, and then it's a spreadsheet in it. You put in your revenue that you want, then you put in your average sale from this year, your lead issue rate, your appointment set rate. And this, if you have a CRM like Builder Prime, you should have all of this data, right? So you put that in and then it spits out the numbers. It tells you, okay, how many raw leads do you need? How many appointments do you need to set from those? How many leads do you need to issue? How many demos do you need to run? And then how many jobs sold do you need? So it'll tell you that annually, and it'll also tell you monthly, right? Because you work in your plan, typically monthly, you're looking at your numbers, right? What we did was we took this compass, my team, and we baked in seasonality. We gave the file to ChatGPT and we prompted it. We said, look, this is 23, 24, and 25's numbers. Find the seasonality, monthly, quarterly, and stuff like that. And I didn't know these numbers until ChatGPT gave it to us. It told us what our busiest months are, what our busiest quarters were. And if I had guessed, I would have been completely wrong. We actually discovered that 10.3% of my revenue is done in the month of August. And 10% of my revenue is done in September. March is a pretty good month. It's 9.02% of my revenue. It's like a light green. We've got color codes here, right? April is a pretty good month too. It's 9.12%. When you get to May, it's red. It's only 8% of my revenue. And June is only 7.8. So May and June, pre-COVID, March, April, May, June, you look at it, you're like, oh, that's my busy season. It's not. My busy season is actually the third quarter.
I think I actually remember that when I was sitting in your office. It's like, September would be a big cool down with back to school and everything like that.
It's actually my second busiest month.
There's been consistency here too, right? So like ChatGPT is telling you like these are the trends.
3 years. November, December, and February are my 3 slowest months. So we started to ask like, hey, why is that? It's because of the shortened months with the holidays. Like everybody puts home improvement projects on pause around Thanksgiving.
You're adjusting your monthly targets so you can properly track if you're really on track for your end of year.
If the goal is 13.1 million, it's going to break it down based on historic sales.
We're taking that top line number, We're breaking it out month by month, right?
And we're baking in also the marketing data too. So like how many, what's your marketing spend? We're also baking that into the seasonality too.
Right. So you're not dividing it evenly by 12 necessarily, right?
The months we're going to spend more money. The slower months, based on the seasonality, we're going to spend less.
I'd almost wonder if it made more sense if those were your best months anyway. Is it better to try to lift up the lower months and spend more in the slower months?
If you want to take that risk, go ahead.
Now you have to think about, how do I hit the increased closing rate, or how do I hit the increased inquiry, raw lead count?
My closing rate over the last 3 years, because we average it out, is 33%. So we know going into this year, we need to be at 33% minimum. Now, if we improve that closing rate, we're going to get better results. But these are just benchmarks, right? These are benchmarks that you judge against when you're going into your meeting and you're looking at your numbers weekly. It's like, am I on track? Am I off track? This is an EOS thing, right? How are we performing against the last 3 years of data? Obviously, if you're doing better, you're generating more leads, your closing rate goes up, it's great. At the end of the day, we're gonna exceed these targets.
If you're using your historical rates, you're really, at the end of this, you're saying, okay, well, if I'm going to hit 15% higher top line revenue, I need 15% more leads.
So yes,
you can pick any of those steps and say, oh, well, we're going to do something different in the call center, and we're going to set more appointments. We're going to set the appointments at a higher rate.
Yeah.
So even if we don't get 15% more leads, we can still get 15% more appointments.
That's what we like to call the MAG, the minimum acceptable goal. On the marketing side, like, we like to look at demos, because we know that if you get us in the house, the rep, they're going to close 33% of them. So I tell my marketing manager, yeah, all those other numbers are great. Raw leads, appointments issued. But at the end of the day, if you get us this many demos, we're going to hit that number. So I tell him to work there and then work backwards, right? Start with demos and then work all the other numbers backwards. Because I hired a marketing director a few years ago, and I was like, hey, I need more leads. And he's like, oh, okay, great. He's got all this experience. He seemed great. He came in, he got us a shit ton of leads. We gave him a marketing budget, he hit it, but we couldn't set him because he asked a wide, broad net. And it was just like, oh, okay. So at the end of the day, we spent money. We had a lot of raw leads, but we had less demos.
I get it as far as why you would want to comp the marketing manager that way.
Demos.
But the process shouldn't really allow for that to happen very much, where you set an appointment, you confirm an appointment, and it's just completely unqualified.
Yeah, like we have a lead issue rate, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Or a demo rate. He's responsible for all of those numbers. Demo rate too, the sales manager is responsible for it too. If you've gotten them to give a demo, you've given the sales rep, the sales department, the opportunity to close. If you're just holding the revenue and you have a sales team that's struggling that month, say the sales manager is doing a poor job, you might not hit your revenue target, but that's not the marketing director's fault. And his cost of marketing is now way up too, because the sales reps, they were at a funk.
Yeah. And what are you targeting in terms of the gross profit? Sorry, I guess I should say net
profit. Between 50 and 18%. Yeah, that's what we're shooting for. We have a very small sliver of market share here. So we have a plan to gain more market share. So a lot of that is, marketing and branding and doing stuff like that. So we've decided we hit it to the next 3 years to spending a little more money so that we could we could generate more leads primarily. And then secondarily, we could build a little more brand recognition.
What about headcount?
That's actually here too. So it tells you monthly how many sales reps you need with a 20% bench. Sales reps, they go on vacation. There's all so you want to have that 20%.
Sure.
So it's built in. Then it also shows us the amount of call center reps that are needed with a bench. And then it also shows us how many crews we need to be able to produce the work. To produce the work in January, we need 6. In February, we need 4. March, we need 7. April, we need 8. So what we do there is we've actually done that where we bake it a month behind.
Yeah, there's a lag between sell and...
There's a lag. Okay. So even though we want to sell almost 1.1 million in January, December is typically slow. So we only need 6 crews. We have 6 crews of installers right now, right? But we want to grow, like it says in August, our busiest month. In September, which accounts for our busiest month, we need 8 crews. So my production manager knows for us to hit this number, he has to build 2 more crews onto the team by September.
And your budget, you're factoring all this, this cost in.
One thing that I discovered while I was away at the Success Society, when we were talking about this in November, is I met with a gentleman, super smart dude named Josh Blickley. And we went out at night to the cigar bar. We're hanging out. We're talking business. And Josh is one of the smartest guys in this business. I told him, I said, I'm going to go home and I'm going to do this business plan because I do it every year in November. And he's like, well, it's actually too late. He starts his business plan. If I remember correctly, he starts it in August. He presents it to his team in September 1st. And then they go over the numbers and they kind of finalize that plan by September 15th. 2026, I'm going to complete this. I'm going to start it in August and I'm going to complete it by the middle of September so that we have the time to prepare.
Yeah. So I mean, that's another really big plug for Success Society, right? I mean, it's just some of these insights that you're able to gain and learn from others who have been there, done that, are ahead of where you're at.
All the stuff that I talk about, it's all been learned from groups like the Success Society, networking, right? Like I have a lot of these people's phone numbers. Like when I run into a problem, I've got 100 people I can call. It's worth the investment. I could have never grown to the point where I am in this business without all of those resources and stuff like that, because I'm just an average guy. I'm just a contractor. There's no formal specialized education.
That wraps it for another episode of Built to Win. So thanks for being with me again, John, and we'll be back with you in a couple more weeks.